Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast that looks at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chenard. I'm here with Glen Willis and drum roll, Brad Rowland on an exciting Saturday night. Welcome, fellas.
All right, we want a good, clean fight. We'll send you to your corners when there's something breaks out.
Yeah, I got the bad signal. Listen, Tyler must be unavailable. There's no chance you'd ever ask me to come on the podcast if you can get Tyler. So I'm just I guess I'm pinch hitting, but nice to be
That's
here.
not true. We're just overjoyed. Just before we start, I do read all of your feedback on Spotify and YouTube and all that. So somebody said I needed a new mic, so I went and got a new mic. Do I sound sexy?
I'll let Glenn answer that.
Uh, oh, we'll allow it. We'll allow it.
Okay, okay. Well, hopefully the sound quality is a little better. We'll test it out and see. We're in experimental mode tonight. Um, Glenn, how about Derek Queen? Game-saving steal there at the end.
Yeah, yeah. Play hard till the horn goes off, I guess, right? He'll learn. He'll learn.
Not exactly Grand Theft Alvarado.
That is exactly, by the way, what my what our good friend Bob Rathman said on the broadcast. I believe his quote was "He'll learn," and I think he's right
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
Actually the thing that I was most disappointed in was like Veet getting upset. Like Veet, you just wave goodbye and smile and say, "Hey, we won by 20 points. Thanks, fella."
V was
Like, why
feeling it.
why, why are you trying to bull rush him? He outweighs you by 100 pounds for one.
Yeah. I was like, here you go. Well, you're welcome to the basketball, kind sir. Have it. Enjoy it.
Yeah, this
Uh,
game's over. Have fun.
I mean, this game. Is there anything that you could take away from this game, Brad?
I mean, yes, there's a few things. I would say winning the games you're supposed to win is an important thing. Like the Hawks should have won this game. They won it easily. It would have been bad if they didn't win it easily, given the opponent and the situation. By the way, on top of New Orleans being not very good, it was an awful spot for them. They had to play last night and had less than 24 hours to get back, and no Zion and all those things. So made it even more fortunate for the Hawks. But that's my number one thing is like you got to win when you're supposed to win. As far as like basketball takeaways, I think we saw the Porzingis that can be really, really, really useful in this game. Like, not that he hasn't shown some of that already, but this was a night, and I know Kevin brought this up a lot on Twitter, so I'll let him talk about it too. But they had no prayer of defending Porzingis. And that's a limitation of New Orleans, but to the Hawks' credit and to his credit, they took full advantage of that. I mean, he did whatever he wanted, and that's especially on a night without Onyeka, without Trey, being able to go to that valve of being, hey, guess what? We'll just throw the ball to the 7-3 guy, he'll shoot over you. It's nice to have that in your bag of tricks, and the Hawks had that, and they used it when they needed to. And early on, it was ugly, man. I mean, I thought it was going to stop at some point, but like the first 15 minutes, the offense was terrible. And it was like, hey, why don't we just throw the ball to Porzingis more? And that wasn't all of it, but that was a big part of why they kind of figured it out. So that's my problem, my lead basketball takeaway. But the other one, really, it's like just beat the team you're supposed to beat, and they just kind of did it. They dropped the hammer when they needed to.
Yeah, those two things kind of go together, don't they? Like that
Yeah,
feels a little bit like where Chris Stapps is in his career. Like I don't know that you can like reliably count on him to have like great games against the top competition, but he just feels like somebody that should absolutely bludgeon lower competition. And somehow the Pelicans, again, it was an awful schedule spot for them. To me, it's just like whatever they've done with their roster build, like how are you going to make this work with Derek Queen and Zion and have like rim protection and just
Mhm.
defense? Like it just I watched the game last night against Dallas and they were relatively competitive, but again, like Dallas is kind of at least with the healthy players they have now, just like an awful passing team. It just I don't know. It it seems like a very weird build of a team. They're 2-15 now. I think at some point
yeah.
other teams are going to like tank themselves, maybe down below them. just because the Pelicans have no motivation to tank. And, Fears and Queen are good young players, and they're going to get lots and lots of reps, and they're gonna win some games in February and March and April when teams just don't give a crap. So like they might not be the second worst team in the league when it's all said and done, but I don't have faith in the long term build of this roster if I'm a Pelicans fan.
I watched that team and I think, oh, man, Trey Murphy has to want out bad. I mean, he's like really. I mean, he's legitimately good. He's legitimately good, and he's on this team that is unserious in their current form. And he's like probably like praying for the trade deadline to get here and hope something happens and he can play somewhere else because he's too good to be on that team to me.
He's also like his skill set is also like not well utilized on a team like that.
Yep.
Like he's more of a, third, fourth guy, and he's their best player on a night like tonight. Like no Zion, he's their best player, and that's not what Trey Murphy's strength is. I mean, our good friend Tyler actually just said this on Blue Sky, but the Pelicans are a borderline NBA team with their roster that they had tonight. Without Zion, without even I mean, Jordan Poole is not my favorite player, but Jordan Poole is an NBA guard at least. DeJounte's still out. All this. I mean,
Herb
Herb Jones
Jones.
was out tonight too. I mean, this is a very simple number, but the Pelicans coming into tonight had a negative 16 net rating with Zion off the court. Like that's like Wizards and worse, and that's what they are. I mean, they're right now. I kind of feel bad. Earlier today, I said, "Hey, I don't think the Pelicans are actually going to be this bad because I think the Hawks fans are like, and I get why they should be tracking the Pelicans and celebrating all their losses. That's part of the deal here. I think there's some assumptions being made that they're actually this bad, and they probably aren't quite this bad because they like what Kevin said. They do have incentive to try, and they'll win some games later in the season. But when they don't have Zion, it is not good, man. It's not a good product, and I think that they actually might have hit on Fears and Queen. That's actually very possible to me, which gives them some light
Mhm.
at the end of the tunnel,
Yeah.
but not this year. That's not gonna help them this year, which is what the Hawks
Yeah.
care
You
about.
watch Spears play, you're like, man, he's 19. He looks like he knows what he's doing. He needs the reps. He'll get the reps he needs. You worry when like when Poole comes back if that how much that's going to eat into development reps he could otherwise get and things like that. But I mean, but Borrego's a certified good coach. Borrego's a certified good coach. And I know the first quarter offensively for the Hawks was terrible, but they were just sinking five bodies way into the paint, not letting the Hawks get any paint touches. Finally, the Hawks started playing the ball on the edges of the floor, like at the 3-point break, and creating um, post spots at the nail for Kristaps and playing through him there. And then also they run the cross screen. Kristaps comes from the nail, goes down to the low post. So they started playing on the edge of the floor more, and that opened up more spacing for Kristaps to work. And that's when that was the move that kind of unlocked everything else, and then they've kind of found their way from there.
We need to talk about that. Like what should the Hawks be doing in a game like tonight where the Pelicans came out and said, we're going to guard Dyson Daniels with Derek Queen, and he's going to stand in the paint to help PV guard Porzingis. I'm not sure that he really did that. I'm not sure that he like did a whole lot of guarding of Dyson Daniels, but it was like he was probably 12 feet from Dyson Daniels a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was
Mm-hmm.
way sinking back. Do, do you
That's exactly
expect
how the
others
Spurs defended him
to try
too.
to copy this? And if so, like what do the Hawks need to be doing better than they did tonight to make the best use of that so that the rim isn't just completely overcrowded?
Yeah, it's a tough one because I think teams are going to play him that way until he gives them a reason not to, right?
Yep.
And the smart teams with smart coaches are going to do they're going to do that, right? Dyson has to push in transition. He has to push pace. He has to attack a defense that's not set. Now, when he's out there with shooters and there's space for him to attack seams, he's good at that, right? But the Pelicans were not allowing any of that tonight. Like Nikhil couldn't get to the rim. Dyson got to the rim when they had bad defenders on the floor. And that's just how it's going to be until Dyson kind of gives any other team a reason not to do that, and he's a long way from giving other teams a reason to not do that.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. I just looked this up to make sure I wasn't crazy. The Hawks had 42 points in the paint in this game, which is one of their lowest of the season. It was like their second or third lowest percentage of points scored, like overall paint to overall. Like They either couldn't or didn't want to get there. And you're right, the Pelicans kind of walled off on purpose. And that's, by the way, it's kind of like it's kind of a David strategy. Like if you know you're a big underdog, they played that strategy. They basically said maybe the Hawks will miss all their threes, and they did for a quarter and a half, and then that stopped happening. But if the Hawks had kept shooting that poorly, that would have been New best chance to defend them in this game. And Dyson was the probably the epitome of that, right? It's so interesting because like that's what the opponent should do. They should make Dyson figure it out either by taking more shots from three and making them, or exploiting them other ways. He did take shots tonight. I was encouraged by that because I know he didn't make them, but he took four threes. That's the most he's taken in a little while. He took 7 shots in the first like 6 minutes of the game. He came out aggressive. I'm pretty confident Quinn and the staff were like, "Hey Dyson, you got to shoot, man." Like they always do that anyway, but even probably more pointedly, I would imagine, given the way he started this game. I think Kevin mentioned it in real time. The offensive glass is really like a weapon that Dyson can exploit when
Mhm.
he is getting guarded like that. And he had five offensive rebounds in this game. You know, it's a guard. You if you're a guard, you should that shouldn't be like your weapon. But Dyson is like uniquely good at that for being a guard. He's a 6'7" athlete who attacks the rim like that, and he's still shooting like 60% on twos during this no Trey stretch. Like he's getting to his spots. He's just not shooting, which it's not great. Like he's gonna have to figure it out. And there were some flashes again. Like he had 4 assists tonight again. Like he made the most of it at times, but it is a problem. And better defenses are going to exploit it better than the Pelicans were able to, until or unless Dyson figures it out. Because I know there was always this thing about Dyson shooting even last year. This is different. He is shooting less and worse than he ever was last season. So it's a whole different ball game. And I don't know if it's physical or whatever, but something's going on, and he's got to figure it out because this is not the guy they were hoping to see offensively. Even if the other stuff still matters, like he's not a zero. He's not Andre Robertson. I've seen that comparison. Like, no, he's not doing that. He's ball handling. He's passing. He's still shooting well inside the arc. That stuff
Racking up
matters.
assists, racking up
Yeah,
assists. Yeah.
yeah. I
Yep.
mean, he's averaging like 7 assists a game and 60% from two. Like it. That's not bad. He's not a zero, but the shooting is going to become a limitation for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's particularly important when you're in a playoff context and teams have 2.5 weeks to play game plan around that deficiency, right? And
Yep.
it's going to be a thing that they're going to have to work all season long. Can we rebuild his confidence as a shooter? He shot over, I think, 38% in 4 of the 6 months last year, right? Now the other 2 months were really low and offset it. I think he ended it up at like 34, but he built some confidence last year. That seems like it's just completely gone now when you watch him play and shoot from the 3 point line now.
Is there anything that, and I want to kind of split this up into two parts, like with Trey and without Trey, but is there anything that they can do with him as a screener to just make it? Oh, my dog has decided to find dog toys. That's love. Um, is there anything they can do with Dyson as a screener to lure that defender out of the paint?
Yes, yeah, you can, right? So it's interesting. So without Trey, a lot of they're running through a lot through Jalen, right now and attacking mismatches that way. Dyson last year, all year long, was awesome in short roll. Like was great. I mean, really great at the middle screen, rolls to the nail, gets that ball, reads the play, makes the pass, or gets the floater. He was great at that. They're not using that as much this year. Not, and I think the difference is they have skilled fives, and that's changing the way that they're scheming on offense. So Dyson's not getting those short roll opportunities that he often got last year. It's a screen and flash through, a brush screen, a go screen, flash through, and he's parking him on the 3 point line, which is where like we just discussed, that's the deficiency he has right now. So I think Quinn and Staff are going to kind of figure out, like, with certain lineups on the floor, can we get him back into short roll action and leverage that? Because he's very good at that stuff, but your fives are so offensively skilled and that's taken that part of his game away.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's I almost brought up Trey earlier, and I'm glad Kevin did because it becomes weirdly it's the one part of offense that actually becomes a little bit harder when Trey comes back is what do you do with Dyson? Because right now Dyson's just the point guard and he has the ball more, and that actually makes sense for him. But when Trey comes back, that's not what he's going to be doing anymore. Now, I would probably, and this is a long way away, we don't know when Trey's going to come back. I would pretty intentionally make sure Dyson was on the court for every minute that Trey wasn't. That's what I would do. I would almost hard stagger Dyson and Trey. in part to get Dyson on the ball and have Dyson be the, all caps backup point guard that the Hawks have not really played that way, but he's been playing point guard for the most part. I would do that, but going back to when Trey's out there, the Dyson quote unquote shooting problem does get almost worse when he's not on the ball. You know what I mean? He becomes that guy that you're not guarding and he's just sinking off versus when he's creating off of off the ball. So I don't know. There's stuff you can do for sure, and I think he does. One thing about Dyson that I think allows him to overcome some of these limitations is that he cuts so well and just feels the game so well. Like he spaces really well. The little things is kind of the all-encompassing way to say that. Like he's not. I think he knows what to do to offset his limitations, and that's helpful. But they still have to figure out the limitations. Like somebody asked me today if they think if I think he's hurt. I kind of do. I kind of do think there's something wrong physically. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a right,
He's
maybe it's a
called it a
hand thing.
thumb injury. Like,
Yeah. I mean, they haven't listed it, so I mean, Kevin, you know
right.
how this works. Like, if they don't list it, fans don't believe that it exists, right? It was like the Collins thing. Remember the John Collins finger? Until that picture made the rounds on social media, people didn't believe that he was hurt. They saw it. They saw the physical hand. And some people even after that were like, "Ah, who cares?" I'm like, hey, try to shoot with your finger looking like that next time and see how that goes for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dyson has that, but yeah, he's referenced it. They talked about bumps and bruises and things, but if you're not listed on the injury report, people kind of roll their eyes and say you're just making an excuse. You know what I mean?
And Dyson is just such an accountability minded guy. He's not going to use
Oh yeah,
that as an excuse for his play.
no,
But the thumb is a really important part of how you shoot a basketball. A really important part of how you shoot a basketball. So
yes,
it's hard for us to know like how bad is it? Is it getting better? When you're playing 3-4 games a week, it's hard for it to get better. I mean, it's just hard for it to get better. So when Trey comes back, do they give him a week? It's like skip 3 games and let's see if we can get that thumb right. Is that something that you do at some point in time? Um, I don't know because we don't know how bad it really is. But I
no.
mean, he's not shooting the ball the same way he was last year, and that's one potential thing to point out for that.
It's also like it's not even necessarily his aggressiveness. It's there are misses and then there are misses. You know what I mean? Like he's not shooting like he's missing badly too. It's not just shooting and missing. And that's when my antenna goes up when it comes to like physical stuff is when you're missing, in different directions and not close on open looks. Yeah, maybe it's confidence too. And both by the way, both those things could be related to each other.
Those go to exactly. That's what I wanted to say is like it's not necessarily like he's done as a shooter, and it's not
No.
necessarily like in the third quarter, oh my thumb hurts. It's like, well, am I going to go into the gym for that extra 90 minutes of shooting? And he's probably thinking, well, I might just make it worse if I do that. So you know what? Maybe I can't go into the gym tonight to get those extra shots up. So it's like you can't really separate those two.
And when you miss a few and you don't feel well, you're more inclined to stop shooting in the game too. Like tonight, I think he took two or three in the first like 6 minutes, took one the rest of the game. And there were several times that I can think of in my head right now where he passed on shots. And that's what Quinn doesn't want. And they could preach it all day long, but if the guy's not making them, it is always going to be intrinsically harder for that guy to keep shooting, even if they're supposed to shoot.
I think like in a game like this too, like he misses on Jack a little bit. Like
Oh yeah.
you mentioned before, like he gets so much of his stuff as a cutter, and in a lot of those plays, that's stuff that's getting set up by a Kongwu.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing. Okongwu's been this is not a Okongwu podcast because we didn't play tonight, but he's been really, really good, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And like missing him,
No, this can be an Kongwu. We don't record every game like you do,
I
Brad.
guess I
This
guess
is
that's
like
true.
4 games worth
We're not we're
of
But
not we're
conversation. We
not
can
we're
talk
not
about
like
whatever we want. We
I'm
can talk
sorry.
about
we
I'm
don't we don't
sorry.
have a five a week mandate or
That's
whatever
that's
you have. We
that's
don't have
that's fair.
that.
I did six last week. It was a lot.
Okay, all right, there you
But
go.
no, Okongwu in the half court like has been one of their best offensive players this
Yeah,
season. Full stop. Like his skill level and the passing is really popped. The shooting is of course like what everyone focuses on because that matters a lot. It's been a revelation, but it's everything else with him too. Like he's always been such a good finisher. He's such a good passer. He feels so good that he does help guys like Dyson, guys like Zach even. Like Zach's a good cutter as well. Like some of that. And Porzingis is actually, I will say to KP's credit, has flashed some passing that he's not always been known for. So that's good. But I think Okongwu is definitely, especially early in this game, was like, man, they miss Okongwu a lot right now on offense. Like
yeah,
they just that secondary hub that they can kind of throw
yeah,
the ball to and run things through the elbows
yeah.
was not there.
Yeah, in games he's played where KP has not played, I mean, it's a small sample. I don't want to like make too big of it, but it's basically like all-star level production. I mean,
Yeah.
20 plus points a game, the rebounds, the assists. That's what I mean. If he can do that across 50 games or whatever, we'll see. We'll see as KP eats into more minutes and things like that. If he gets all the same usage and opportunity and stuff. But while KP has not played, he's been basically at that type of level of production.
Can he actually? I wanted to ask this. Can he win six man of the year? Like, is Kristaps going to be around for enough starts to that he gets
It's
enough games off the bench where
I
he
forget
could
what the
win
rule
this?
is. Isn't there a rule for
you
six
guys are
man?
you guys are gonna love this. So I have someone that I talk to about things like this who is a sports bettor, like professional NBA bettor, and he asked me preseason if I thought Okongwu was going to start too many games, basically, because it was, and I pointed out on my podcast too. I was like, hey, Okongwu for six man is like a pretty logical thing because usually six man of the year you have to have counting stats for better or worse. You kind of have to have those numbers, and he does, but it's basically the rule. The only rule, Glenn, is you have to start fewer games than you come off the bench for the season. That's the only hard and fast rule for six man. So
The only
if you
hard
play,
and fast rule, but you also
yeah,
have to like curry some favor in the
yeah, you
Warriors'
have to.
minds of,
There's
oh
some,
yeah, I
but
was
the
doing
only
the bench
hard,
part.
yeah. So if you play, let's say Columbus tonight's game, if he plays 73 games and comes off the bench 37 of them, he's technically eligible. Would he win? I don't think so because people are going to say you started too much probably, but he'd be eligible. They need Porzingis to play like I don't know 55 or 60, I think, for a Kongwu to have a chance to win six
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, also though, I will say one of the keys to winning six man is playing enough, which means sometimes you have to start enough to like boost your other numbers. I
Yeah.
just pulled it because Glenn mentioned it. In the six games he started, he's averaged 20 points and 7 rebounds per game on 67% true shooting in six starts. So like if you do that and then you average like 15 when you're coming off the bench and put up numbers and all that stuff, yeah, he could definitely win six man of the
Yeah,
year. I'm also Nikhil's a candidate too.
yeah,
If
for
Trey
sure.
plays enough, Nikhil becomes a candidate too. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
yeah, yeah. Start Mo for the first two possessions, and then put Anyeka in to get him
Try to
the
game that a
right
little bit.
split of starts and non-starts.
Why did Mo play 4 minutes the other night? Do we have a good
Oh,
answer for this?
I mean, I had a good answer. No, no. My theory, maybe I'm trying to give a little bit too much credit here. My theory is that because of when he got hurt in the first half, he was only going to play a stint in both halves, I think. For better or worse, that's the way they were building the rotation out, is I think he was going to play like 5 minutes in both halves instead of two. And then he got hurt right at the beginning of his first stint, and then he just didn't come back in the first half. And it's like how well he's at a minute and a half at halftime, and then the same thing happened in the second half, no injury, which is good. But I literally texted Hawks PR just to say, hey, is Mo available to come back in the game? Because I was like, why isn't he coming back in the game? Um, he's on the bench, so I think it was the wrong decision. My generous read would be that the injury threw things off a little bit, but in the second half, you should have been able to reset and play him more. And yeah, I don't really get it, but I started to say the sarcastic answer that we've been given on the record from the head coach, which was, he's playing behind the reigning Eastern Conference player of the week, so he can't possibly play more than than he has. I'm sorry, I was just for Kevin.
Oh, you gotta love coach speak.
I'm not
That's
even coach.
a little
That's not even
beyond
coach speak.
coach speak.
I'm about to say I wish he'd give us coach speak some more
Yeah, I
often.
know. But like that's Quinn's a. It's not that unusual for coaches to just kind of like throw water on your question, right?
Yeah, I mean the thing is we don't have to go down the rabbit hole too much here, but the three guard lineup has been the stand-in for what Quinn tends to do,
Yeah,
which is like go with ball handling, go with shooting, as his defaults, and Mo does not do those things. So when everyone is healthy in the front court, I think he'll play more than 4 minutes a night, but he's not. I don't think he's ever going to play as much as I want him to play, and as much as Hawks fans want him to play when everybody's healthy. That's my operating guess. Just because Quinn just is going to default to whatever guard is available next to him. Um, Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe he'll get the call from on high that says you can't play Keaton anymore. I will literally cut Keaton if you keep playing him like this. Um, but I'm kidding. That won't happen. But that might, but if he didn't do that, he might just play Luke 30 minutes a game instead. I don't know. Just it's Quinn's like worst impulse, I think, honestly, is that I mean, if they're losing, I get it more. Like that's something I know you guys talked about. I know Glenn talked about on my show. When you're losing late, I understand the impulse to just play your shooting and play your offense, like you try to make it up. But like in neutral game state, like it's low hanging fruit. But Keaton shouldn't play more than Mo. He shouldn't play nearly as much as Mo. Like it's just you don't need to do that, especially when you're not really playing Keaton as an every down point guard anyway. This is not new territory, but it's particularly glaring when Mo plays 4 minutes in a game. Like that just shouldn't happen.
Yeah, there were a handful of possessions tonight, even and acknowledging that New Orleans didn't have an optimized rotation tonight. But Mo's like all over the place. He's just all over the place on
Yeah.
every defensive possession. He shuts down two or three actions, knows where to be, shows up. He's such a good processor on that end. And offense, like last year, he half the time he truly didn't know what he was doing. Like he hadn't played a lot, like with the
Yeah.
big league club, right?
He
This
hasn't
year
played
he
a lot
knows,
of
like, oh,
basketball, period. He's
Yeah.
like 5 years into
yeah,
touching a basketball.
right. Now, like he knows where to go. If he gets the ball, he knows what he gets to a DHL. He can run their wham set just fine. He can do all that stuff. Is it on the same level as Jalen? Well, of course not. Is it on the same level
No.
as KP or Nyeka? Of course not, right? But he knows how to get out of the way, how to move the ball. If he gets the ball and he gets stranded, turns to some guard and asks for a DHL. He knows how to get rid of the ball and reinitiate action, which he couldn't do at all last year.
I don't know.
Is it-
That's one thing I want to say. Sorry, Kevin.
Very good.
Um, is that in addition to Mo taking a step forward, which you just mentioned, like I figured this actually I didn't know this till tonight. I looked it up. You guys might have seen me tweet this, but if you didn't, Mo and KP have played before tonight had played 10 minutes total together. So that's part of this too, is that they don't like something with those two guys, like something somewhere with the staff. If you won't play Mo with Porzingis at all, that does limit how much you're going to be able to play him. So maybe that'll change tonight. Tonight was out of necessity, right? Because they didn't have Onyeka, they didn't have Onyeka, so I get it. But like that tells me that they don't like that pairing on paper, and maybe that'll change. But it does limit you if you're trying to specifically avoid that pairing, then you can only play him with Onyeka basically because they pretty much show they're not going to play Mo at center unless they have to. Like
Yeah.
that's been repeated over the last 2 years is that Mo at center is only a look that they go to when they don't have another center to play. So
I mean, it could be scheme based. Like KP's getting up the floor more in the last few weeks. He's been getting to the level more and things like that. But I still think the instinct is want to keep him close to the rim, not have him being all over the place exerting energy. He's sick, so want to help him conserve energy. And if he's anchored to the rim, there's really not as much that Mo can do that offers value, right? In that sense, then when Mo's playing next to Onyeka, you can switch 1 through 5. You can get both 4 and 5 to the level of the screen. You can hedge. You can do whatever you want, right? To the ball screen. But if you're trying to anchor KP and save his energy, then it is hard to play Mo and get the full value he offers defensively.
I think
yeah,
it was most of this stuff just blurs together, but I think it was the shoot around before opening night. We talked to Mo, and Mo said that he just like he hadn't shared the court like as a he hadn't been in a
oh
front
yeah,
court with Kristaps like, and that was at
yeah,
the end of the preseason. He said, "No, we haven't done that." Like, so they, I mean,
it shows.
at least all the way up to opening night, I don't think they'd even like tested that out at all. Like, he made it sound like, no, we hadn't done any of that.
I just did the math while we were talking. I think they played more tonight than they had played in the whole season. I think it was like 11 or 12 minutes tonight, and they had not. I think it was nine and a half or 10 coming in. So,
Yeah,
This game was
a
so
safer
weird.
context, safer game context for
well,
that
yeah, but
against the bad team. So
and Okong was played every game till tonight too, which is Okong was really good, and he's been playing 25, 30 minutes a game. If you won't play him with Porzingis, it's all those things.
We've talked a little bit about how Kristaps is deployed defensively, and tonight felt like the first time that they sort of took him away from guarding a big. And I don't know if that's because that's how New Orleans was guarding them and you avoid the cross matches, but like they said, we're going to guard Porzingis with PV, and then Porzingis is also guarding PV on the other end. with, I think they had Dyson Daniels on Queen a lot of the time, so that they were keeping him out of the point so he could just kind of rotate over as a help defender. Do you think that was just sort of the weirdness of this matchup where both teams were missing so many people, or is that something that they want to do more of where they have somebody, guard the best big and have him like on a corner shooter ready to try to help?
I think it was a little easier tonight because the Pelicans didn't play a very big lineup, so that
Mhm.
made it a lot easier, and also not a very skilled lineup throughout the game. That made it easier. I think it always will come down to how much shooting the other team can put on the floor, and if there is more than one negative shooter, or say we'll even say average shooter, one average shooter, one below average shooter, makes it easier to do that kind of stuff. So that's what the Celtics lived and died with that the whole time he played in Boston. It was like weak side corner, find the guy that can't shoot the basketball, et cetera, and kind of float him in, never ask him to go up the floor. So I think it's total matchup context, game context, and how the opposing team, they try to spam shooting makes it harder. But if a team like Toronto, like they don't deploy a ton of shooting, like you could use that against a team like Toronto. Now they'll just like pull their way to the front of the rim if you don't stop them from doing that. And that's happened to the Hawks twice now, right?
Yeah.
So it is so game and matchup dependent, in my view.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you guys heard the report Matt Weiner did where he said on the air that the coaching staff decided to play Dyson on Queen like on the bus ride over to the arena today. He said that on the air. So I, interesting to me, but that's more of an offshoot
Yeah.
of this lineup construction that New Orleans was running. If you don't want to, I mean, Queen's like playing point guard half the time.
Yeah.
Like, and he's the only guy that you could put Porzingis on that's not a guard. Like, you can't have Porzingis guard Trey Murphy. Like, Sadiq Bey is basically a 3-point shooter. You don't want to have him guard Sadiq Bey. So Micah Peavy is the only option. He can't
Yeah.
really guard Jeremiah Fears, and Peavy didn't make him pay, so why would they change it? I think Queen's unique skill set kind of allowed the Hawks to do that. But if they had started Jordan Hawkins instead of Micah Peavy, they couldn't have done that because Hawkins is a knockdown shooter. So it was like the Pelicans almost allowed KP to do that because they didn't have another shooter on the court. Um, I would like to see what they would do if they might try that again in a different situation. But Porzingis, I mean, I know you guys mentioned on the show, like he's got to prove that he can, move. And I mean that's obviously too simple, but like get from one end of the paint from the paint to the other, like in timely fashion, like be able to show on a screen and then dive back to the rim quickly. Like that's stuff that he hasn't shown enough to me defensively this year for whatever. I mean, part of this, he's not the fastest guy anyway, but maybe it's conditioning, maybe it's whatever it is. He's not done enough of that. And the whole game is like, yeah, you would love to find a way to get him to stand as close to the rim as possible. That's the whole thing. You want him to be near the rim because that's one the only time he's really a standout defender is when he's right at the rim. And you can't just leave him there because this is the NBA. Teams are going to beat that. But like if you can get him there as much as possible by hook or by crook, maybe it's guarding Mike Peavy. Maybe that's the way to do it on this particular night. But on the next night, there might not be somewhere to stick him. Like tomorrow against Charlotte, as we're talking on Saturday night, they don't really have like dynamic centers. Maybe Kalkbrenner is kind of maybe spacer, but most of the time they're playing a non-shooting center. I would imagine if Porzingis is playing, which he won't be probably, but if he was, he's going to have to guard the center and to be more normal in that kind of matchup.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's always interesting to watch because like if it's Jalen or Onyeka or Zach or Mo getting to the level, they can get all the way to the level and get back because they have the foot speed, right?
Yep.
Porzingis sometimes I feel like he forgets the length he has, that he doesn't have to get as far up the floor because he has more length than any of those other defenders, and he can have a shorter path back to the paint. Now you're going up against James Harden, something like that. You've got to get all the way there and make him stop. But you have an average creator in that ball screen, then he doesn't have to get all the way there. So that's something I always find interesting to watch.
What do you make going back a little bit here? Like Jalen Johnson was absolutely fantastic in this Pelicans game, but going back to San Antonio, he had some nightmare stretches on defense. Was there anything that did I miss something? Did he like tweak an ankle early? Was he just lost? Like, is there anything that you could make out of what was happening there? Because it seemed like the worst stretch of defensive basketball that I've seen from him, probably, going back to most of last season.
I agree with the assessment. I don't know why, but I agree with that was the film too. Like I had a note to look and in particular watch Jalen's defense on my rewatch, and it was as bad as I thought it was in real time. So I don't know what it was. Maybe he just and I will say his weakness defensively is that is his attentiveness and consistency, generally speaking, in my opinion. Like his flashes are great, right?
Sure.
It's always been a like, is he dialed in or not? And for whatever reason, he was not dialed in, and the mistakes, and he was a step slow on top of everything else. Maybe he was tired. I mean, he's been doing a lot, to be fair. Like
Huh.
carrying
He did
workload's been
have to do a lot
huge.
on offense in that game. That is
Yeah,
fair.
workload's been huge. So I mean, and then I think I made this one on my show offhandedly, but there's been a long time trope that happens to be true when guys take a leap offensively and do more, they tend to get worse defensively, and that I think has happened to Jalen so far this season. Like he
Yeah.
has not been as good on the whole as he was last year, which kind of makes sense. He's doing more on offense.
Yeah. And the Spurs run some really smart stuff on offense. They press the strong side with a DHO or a screen at 3-point break. And if you lose the cutter for like half a second there right to the rim, you got to really cover that weak side like with a ton of organization and connectivity. And that was just a huge problem in that game, the whole game for the Hawks. And Jalen was maybe the worst of that, but I don't think he was the only one that was really
Yeah,
breaking down on the weak side.
yeah, you're right for sure. It was not a Jalen only issue. Like I was probably harder on him than I was on anybody else in that game defensively. But and part of that's because I think I know he's just capable of so much more. Like I try to grade in a curve with players like what they actually can do. Like Luke Kennard and Jalen Johnson are not the same capability defensively. So like you have to grade a guy based on what they are physically capable of doing. And Jalen's capability is so much higher that it's like I'm almost like more frustrated when he's bad because it's like we know you don't need to be bad. We know you're good when you dial in. Whereas like Luke is just like you want him to compete, but he's not. He's only so much you can do defensively. It's kind of the same thing with Veet. Sometimes Veet just gets overwhelmed. By the way, is Veet ever going to miss again? Before we get out of here, is Veet ever going to miss again?
Hard to know.
Maybe not. Suddenly, Veet's the best shooter in the league. I don't understand what's
I
happening.
mean,
Could have been a 3-point contest at the All-Star weekend. I won't
He's on
watch.
pace to be right now.
Yeah,
He
I
might be
know.
in it.
I was talking to like a Hawks front office person the other day, and he made a point to point out to me, and it was not Kyle Korver, but he's like, yeah, and Onyeka hit 8 threes. That's as many as Kyle had in any of his Hawks games, and it's like, yeah,
Hmm.
that's true. And like, V seems like he gets there every 2 weeks or so now. Like, it's
I mean,
crazy.
Veet hit seven tonight as we're talking, and like I think five of them came in like a 6 minute span. Like when
Yeah,
he goes nuts, he just goes nuts. Like it just
yeah,
everything's going in. Like the basket's gonna the size of the lane. So it's been fun to
absolutely.
watch. I'll say that.
For,
I'm enjoying it.
for sure.
Yeah, he's very, very consistent. It's it's been interesting to watch some of the practice shooting battles between Keaton Wallace. Oh my goodness, yeah. Sorry, this I'm distracted by that gigantic
I'm
microphone in
seeing
front
how
of
the
my head.
sausage is made now on
It's
ATL
about time
29.
to
I'm
just
watching
say
it.
goodnight, Bob, and punt here.
Hi, Bob.
Good
All
night,
right, good night,
Bob. Thanks
Bob.
for being here.